You're listening to Filmmakers Drinking Bourbon. Hey, what's up, World Wide Web? It's Brandon.
And this is Alex.
I'm Michael.
Hey, and we're
kind of popped in.
We're filmmakers.
Hey, we're also drinking bourbon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
Let's taste this. That's the good stuff.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Did you mix some up?
No, that's just straight bourbon.
Ooh, it's sweeter than normal.
Well, I don't know. We've got we're clearing out the liquor cabinet, and we're finishing off the Elijah Craig small batch and the Four Roses small batch. So it's a small batch day.
Yeah.
That's
Small batch in a small group.
Mine tastes like I got the Four Roses.
I think you did.
There's no way
That tastes really good.
that's got to be a made-up name.
Yeah.
There's no way that's
Yeah, Elijah Craig.
Anyway, we had another name
Yeah,
in the last few episodes, just being me and you.
yeah. And
Who's
not today.
Who's Mike?
We got Mikey Mike D on the mic.
Yeah. Who's
Mike's
Mike?
on the mic.
Who are you?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be here.
Tell the listeners, who are you?
Oh, man. What am I or who? I'm
Both. Yeah.
You're Michael Holder.
Yeah, Michael Holder.
Good.
Oh, man, I've been in advertising for a while. I was an art director, copywriter, still am, and filmmaker and stand-up comedian and some other stuff.
Wow,
So
man
nice.
of many talents.
Yeah.
Man, and you know what? Sometimes on set, you need that. You need a little stand-up when
comedy.
when you got a little lull.
Yeah.
So, well, let's just get a little bit of background. You know, this is Filmmakers Drinking Bourbon. Right now, we're drinking bourbon. So, as you heard,
Finally.
we've got on the Elijah Craig. We got the Four Roses.
Yep.
Are you a bourbon drinker?
I'm not. I'm a big drinker.
Yeah.
But I know nothing about bourbon.
Mostly
And,
beers or what?
I like wine. It's wine. I like wine a lot. It's funny too because my doctor just recently told me, he's like, I need you to cut your drinking in like half.
Whoa.
And it's really it is it's way harder than I thought it was going to be because like I don't know if you've ever tried to cut a box of wine in half, but it's like super hard. It's like,
Sounds messy.
it is messy. Yeah. No,
Oh my god!
Wait, so what kind of wine? I'm a wine guy too. What
Yeah,
kind of
he's a wine
wines?
guy.
I love Pinot Grigio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's like as the quantity increases, you have to be somewhat smart about, what type you buy and everything. So I usually just get it at Walgreens,
Nice.
which is weird to me, like that Walgreens sells wine.
Yeah, but alcohol and specifically bourbon and spirits, that's like a medicinal. Back in the day, like
Yeah.
you brew up a little cocktail as like medicine.
Yeah, the more the healthier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it. Well, we love the bourbon,
We do.
but I'll tell you what, we have got some exciting new bourbons that are going to be on the show.
Yeah, that's what you've been saying.
I
man.
know.
You've been laying the
I know.
groundwork.
We've been busy working, so it's been hard to really get people on board with the show. We had a lot of bourbons on last season, but I've got.
I love
some
that we can say that now, by the way.
I've got some major bourbons lined up. Like some of the biggest bourbons you can think of, we're talking with them.
Sweet.
So their bottles are being shipped right now.
Good.
The bourbon cabinet is about to explode.
What'd you say when we came in? The bourbon train is rolling?
The bourbon train is rolling. It's flowing.
It's
We're
flowing.
swimming in it. So
I thought it was a bourbon trail, not a train, right?
yeah, either one. You got to have both.
But the trail can't move.
It's the Oregon Trail and the bourbon train.
Yes.
So
there you go.
There you go.
So, but anyway, so I'm excited. A lot of cool things happening on the show, and we got Mikey Mike here today.
I know.
Mikey,
Wait, so you said you're a filmmaker, right?
Yeah.
You've
Filmmaker,
been in this
yeah.
for a while?
Yeah, so it's probably been about, I would say about 10 years or so. And I was an art director and writer at the time. And, I think we can all attest to the fact that, when YouTube, about two years into YouTube, our corporate commercial clients were like, hey, we should, like, it wasn't just funny cat videos anymore.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we need videos, right? But, like, we're not going to pay $100,000.
Sure.
We're not going to pay broadcast money to I was shooting and editing wedding videos at the time. And I don't know if you remember the Panasonic DVX.
Oh man, I cut my
100s?
teeth on that.
yeah,
thing.
and that was like, it was so amazing too, because that was the first video camera, affordable video camera, camcorder that shot 24p.
24p,
Right?
Yeah,
and it was just like amazing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God.
Cinematic.
And it was so little.
Yeah.
It was so little and it was affordable. It's
Yeah.
like $2,500 or something. And, I would shoot these wedding videos and people people that are not filmmakers, not video people, can tell the difference.
They can feel it.
But they don't know what 24p means.
Right.
They don't know what 60i,
Sure.
and they don't know any of that. They just know it doesn't look like video.
Because before that, we were having to get the magic bullet and all these things to get the quote film look, and it was like use
put
this.
nylon over the lens. Or something.
There was like
all sorts of
what
stuff.
was the Sapphire? Genesis Sapphire was like a plug-in that like
that was before my time.
It's
buddy.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
I was shooting wedding videos and working in an agency downtown here, and they were like, hey, they're like, Michael, you do video, don't you? I'm like, yeah, a little bit. I'm talking like iMovie, like I was learning Final Cut, and they're like, do you do video? I'm like, yeah, a little bit.
like, sure.
And then I was like, literally, like I was then doing video full time.
You're the video guy.
Yeah,
You
and
became
I
the-
was still an art director and writer. I would do my own storyboards. I would do my own on-screen graphics.
Sure.
But it was sort of, it seemed like it happened overnight.
Yeah.
And and then so I've been doing that, for the past 10 years.
So were you right there on the DSLR boom?
I was,
you-
and actually, it's funny you mentioned that too, because I know we always talk about like that 4K discussion, all that kind of stuff, but I shot with the 5D, the 5D, the 7D, the 60. I shot with that until about 6 months ago when I finally got the C100 Mark II.
Nice.
Just so I didn't drop a ton of cash, and I got the external Atmos recorder, so you get pretty high quality stuff. But I shot I've been shooting commercial video with the Canon DSLRs for like 8 years, and it's just like
It's a workhorse, man.
You can get a great image out of those things.
Yeah.
But that C100 Mark
Yeah.
II, we talk about all the time, is a great does-all package.
Yeah, it's a little hard getting used to. I started on the 5D, which is full frame. Then I went to the 7D, which was a crop.
35, yeah.
That took a little getting used to. And then I went back to the 6D, which was back to full frame. And then the C100 is 35.
Super,
And it's a little, it's more getting used to than you expect.
Do you own your own lenses? So have you kept the same
I've
set
got all
throughout?
I've had the same set, but
That's good.
that's really what I'm getting at is like you like I have that 50 1.2 and I love it.
Beautiful.
the
yeah.
nifty 50.
But that thing on a 35 sensor versus a full frame,
Yeah.
it's a totally different lens.
1.6 crop.
Yeah, and you're just like, what's going
And
on?
by the
like,
way,
what happened to the depth of field?
Since this conversation's popping up, we've got a great episode from our archives that
do.
talks about crop factor, all this sort of thing.
I know, yeah. If I'm going to go back and reread that, and if it's not as in depth as I think it is, we're going to amend it.
Yeah.
We're gonna start adding
New
to
episode.
it.
So
Yeah.
so you're a Canon.
I'm a Canon guy,
Are you
yeah.
a Canon guy, or
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
sort of an agnostic who is currently using a Canon?
You know what? I'm a Canon guy, and really, sounds really nuts, but I mean, I'm a National Geographic guy,
Yeah.
and I still subscribe to it. And the old school Canon, as wildlife or as Canon sees it,
Yeah.
they still run full page ads on the back of National Geographic, and they haven't really. It's like they look like ads from like the '80s, and I love that. And I don't know
Yeah.
if it's just something. And
Nostalgia.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
it
have
is.
anything against Nikon or anything,
Sure.
but it's like, I think it goes back to the lenses. You build up all these lenses,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to know them, and you love them. And it's not like Nikon or any
Sure.
other company makes
Yeah.
lesser lenses. It's just that
They have a different look, though.
What kind of? I
The
mean,
colors are different with
how
Canon
much
and
can
Nikon
you
lenses.
love a lens? I mean, at what point does it get weird?
Depends on the state's laws, right?
It just it's like there is like a beer goggles element to like your lenses where it's like this is making both of us uncomfortable. But the lenses, they can't say anything, so they're just like
They just take it.
they
Stop
they
looking
just
at me.
take it.
Oh man, that's you know what I mean. I love that. I make no qualms about it. I love that camera. It's
See,
just
Mark II?
such. It's the DVX of its day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
you can drop it, beat it up, like it just goes, man.
And I've always stayed like, part of it's an affordability thing, and part of it's just like I've always stayed about two years behind technology. Meaning, like, I'm embarrassed to say I have a 720 TV, and it was like whatever. It was like $1,800 when I bought it, and I've had it forever. And I know it's
mine's that too.
like I
Yeah,
know it's time.
It looks
to,
great.
I know it's time to upgrade. and there's no reason not to, because now that like a 1080 TV is
cheap.
Yeah.
$200.
Well, they're coming out with an 8K. So that's something we're going to see at NAB. Is probably an 8K display.
You have no idea. Last year at
ridiculous.
NAB, they just took the word 4K and 8K
Slapped
and
it on everything.
stamped it everywhere.
We're serving Manhattan's 4K.
Yeah.
4K Manhattan's over
dude.
here.
Yeah.
I skip generations though. I do it with iPhones
Yeah.
and PS. Like I had the PS1 or whatever, and then I just skip PS2 and go to PS3.
Yeah.
So I kind of do that with cameras. I do that with thankfully the lenses.
Well, you let the
lenses
go
forever.
You let the kinks get worked out.
Yeah.
I think
that's smart.
A lot of people, when the Black Magic stuff dropped at last NAB, there's a lot of people. Now there's Black Magic people that are all in, like, oh, they're the future or whatever.
All in.
And I believe, now granted, I own the Canon C100 Mark II because of A, price point, B, what it can do. It's a workhorse. But as a director, I don't really care.
No.
Like, I'll shoot on the iPhone. I'll shoot on a freaking...
You're about story.
I'll shoot on whatever you want to shoot on if it achieves the goal that we're going for.
No doubt.
So to me, VHS is fair game. So is Arri Alexa. So is shooting on 70 millimeter Panavision.
It's all the feel.
It's about what's your budget. What do you want to do?
So we're shooting on Panavision 70 for the next project. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I did.
Very cool. Thanks.
I did one of those MZ workshops last September.
You say NZ? Like New Zealand?
No, it's MZED. I think it's whatever.
Okay.
They put on these great filmmaking workshops, but it was
online or in person?
No, in person.
Cool.
It was downtown here, and it was a full 12 hours. It was a whole entire day. But it was Alex Bono, who's the who's
Saturday
the
Night
DP
Live.
on Saturday Night Live, and it was the most amazing thing I'd ever been to, because I'm a huge, obviously, SNL fan, huge comedy fan, but his whole job is to replicate looks, right? And so whatever the writers come up with, like, that's his thing, and it's unbelievable, because they get scripts on Thursday morning, they do pre-pro on Thursday, and they shoot on Friday, and they edit Friday night into Saturday.
Oh, so you're talking about the digital shorts?
Yes.
Well, anything that's not live on Saturday Night Live. So commercial parodies, digital shorts.
Yeah.
He was DP on all that stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the things he has a thing on IFC called Documentary Now.
Yes.
That he's been doing with Fred Armisen.
There's a good article just posted today.
Amazing stuff. But they do so now they're spoofing documentaries from like the 70s and 60s and 80s. And so anyway, my whole point was he gets vintage lenses and gets the mounts retrofitted. So when he's shooting a 70s rock band, documentary spoof, he's using a lens that they shot
from the 70s.
From the 70s,
Yeah.
And he made a really strong point. He's like, you can't not get that look if you're using that lens. And it was just brilliant.
He's a big Canon
cool.
guy too, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was
yeah.
C300 for the longest time.
No, and he made a really strong case
Yeah.
for the C100 Mark II because it's essentially the same. It is the same sensor as the
sensor,
C300.
Yeah.
And if you HDMI out to
yeah, it's beautiful.
So-
to a
Well,
recorder, you
yeah.
get an uncompressed kind of a
Well,
deal.
the other
Yeah.
thing too is that, when you look at the technology, they at least what they say is that it captures 4K, but it transcodes it and kind of
it scales it down to 1080 for processing. Well, some of my favorite stuff he's done was where they mimicked Wes Anderson. What was like the midnight coterie of whatever. Oh, it's brilliant.
I feel like Canon's sitting on some sort of like firmware update that all of a sudden it becomes 4K.
For the C100 Mark
Yeah.
II.
Yeah, if the
Yeah.
C300 or C500 goes 8K, then they'll be like, just so you know, check this out.
Boom.
Boom.
It's no longer irrelevant. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can still keep
Yeah.
your C100s.
That's what I'm thinking.
$500
I'm just saying.
upgrade.
If it's, quote, capturing it at 4K, why can't you spit it out at 4K?
Well, that's what Sony
right?
did.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Sony did that with the FS700. You could send that in and get the R version
you
or
get
whatever for the 4K.
you get the new chip or the new whatever. Like
no, it's
something
just a processor.
right,
Yeah.
but I think they don't even do that. I think they send it in and they look at it and they like have like a little like a
There's a
paper clip.
switch
They
inside.
got like a paper clip. Like when you reset your iPhone or whatever,
Push a button.
they push the paper clip and then they send it back to you.
Exactly.
And
Oh
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah. We
and they
installed
charge
the
you
new stuff.
$2,500.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, it's amazing.
See, I don't think they're going to do that because the C300 Mark II is internal 4K.
Yeah.
So I think that if anything, I think they've promised. I don't know. I may be wrong. I think they said they're not releasing anything new at NAB.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think all technology is like that. I mean, if you look at the past 10 years of memory cards.
Oh my God!
It's like, dude. And you're like, especially if you have a GoPro. Yeah. I'm like
128s for.
Like, are you kidding me? Like
128 gigabytes.
How did you not know how to do this? Like 5 years ago, you knew how to do this.
Oh yeah.
You're just like, no, we're
cashing in.
Yeah, you're just gonna stage it, and that's why.
No doubt.
That goes back to my point. That's why I always try to stay about 2 years behind.
Yeah.
Because now that if the 8K TVs come out, then I'll get a 4K, and I'll just skip 10. I'll just go from 720 to 4K. And the 4K,
your mind will be blown. Yeah.
So anyway,
Do you find that theory working out in the rest of your life? Do you is there other things that you just like skip and then all of a sudden you're like, bam?
I skip
breakfast or something like that.
Oh yeah, no,
straight from breakfast to dinner. Yeah,
there are huge gaps in the past 10 years of my life.
That's
where I'm like, I don't know what I was doing. Like it's just.
Still rocking the Walkman.
Let's you mentioned gaps. Let's talk about gaps. So we've connected a while ago. You've worked at agencies. You've done some other things, and now you're in this sort of freelance space. Tell that story. How did that happen? I think a lot of the listeners are there's some listeners that have just gone freelance and they're trying to navigate the space. There's some listeners that are at a shop but they want to do their own thing, but they're afraid to. And the last time me and you hung out and had drinks, you were kind of in that middle place. So talk a little bit about your story.
I got laid off, so that made it pretty easy, and agency life is cyclical. So
sick or cyclical?
A little bit of both. Yeah,
high turnover.
It's a point of view thing, but I had worked at I would say like when you get about to the 4-year mark within an agency. That's when I think a lot of art directors, a lot of writers, a lot of people, you've sort of figured it out by then, and then it's like, all right, I'm either gonna stay here. I mean, we're performing art. We're like athletes.
Sure.
So you find it in sports, you find it whatever, and I was just I was kind of getting to the point where because I was doing video like 100% of the time, I was missing a little bit of the old day. I was missing writing, and I was missing art direction, and missing that kind of stuff. And nothing against any agency at all; they're all structured differently. But it's I think when you're full-time video within an agency environment, sometimes you can be sort of like he's the video guy. We'll come up with the ideas, and when we're ready.
Execute.
Yeah, and so it was a little bit of that, but again, it's like nothing negative at all. It was just I was getting to the point where I was getting a little itchy, and it just so happened that there were some cutbacks. I mean, it was nothing personal, anything like that. I got laid off, so I always said I would never go freelance unless I had to, because I'm not built for freelance, and I've learned a lot. It's been about 5 weeks now. And, I've learned a lot about myself because like, like I don't even know what day of the week it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you have no more weekends, you have no more. And I really miss that daily, it is a daily grind, but like I need that.
You're done at 5, you start at 9, boom.
And you can break. Yeah. And so when it starts all like mushing together and everything, And the fact that like I'm single, I live alone, like I can take a 4-hour nap, and then and so like
it's dangerous.
Yeah, it is really weird, and that's why it's like the whole time.
Is that even a nap? That's like a sleep.
No, it is definitely No, it messes you up.
I think 2 hours is a nap.
Anything over 2.
Anything over 2 is a sleep.
Should define nap here. Yeah.
But it's like you wake up in the morning, and I do wake up early, but I mean it's like I get a lot of work done, and then like at 10 o'clock, like Hoda and Kathy Lee are like drinking
box of wine.
They're drinking wine on the Today Show, and I'm like, all right,
I'll join in.
Like I'm fine. And then it's like by 1 o'clock, it's like, all right, like I'm gonna sleep for 4 hours, and then you wake up, you feel like crap for an hour, and then so it's just this like weird kind of thing.
That's funny. Well, the last time we hung out, you were talking, about some different things, and I brought up to you that we just had an episode with the guys from Dissolve, and I sort of challenged you and said, "Hey, man, you should really like consider this. Maybe you could start shooting stock while you're looking to see what's next." And sure enough, you went for it, and you've got like 400 clips on there.
That was the best thing, and it was so funny too because I went home, I listened to that podcast, and then I immediately emailed George at Dissolve, and I sent him a whole bunch of Vimeo links that I had. Or just I've done personal documentary stuff. I just sent him a bunch of stuff, and I got really, really positive feedback from him and Shar, and so then I just started digging. It took me a couple months.
Did you take advantage of that
Liftoff?
Where they break it apart.
So it's funny. Never done stock before. I decided to go exclusive with them because because in my mind I'm like, all right, well I've never done this before, and they were so encouraging of my work, and they were so helpful, and they're like, there are so many benefits to doing Liftoff. So I went through my archives for like it probably took me about a month or two just to pull them all together, and I shipped it all off to them, and it takes a little while because they curate it, they go through and everything. But in the right as soon as I sent them all those clips, I started shooting stuff on my kitchen table. I love macro.
Yeah,
nice. I love I like
and that series
food.
You did was great. He did a lot of spices and little bowls and stuff, and they're great. It looks really great
for like cooking demos or whatever you want.
Whatever you want. It looks awesome. So it's good.
Yeah, and plus I had a lot of good stuff in the archives, and so
you said 400 clips?
Yeah, he's got 400 clips.
I've got 400 now.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got like food. There's horses. There's some weird shit on there.
Wow. So what's
you gotta have blowing grass is a big one. Like if you're a stock shooter, make sure you got blowing grass.
Yeah.
What's your process like? So if you were to go home and say, okay, I'm going to add to this collection, do you find a new category? What's the thought process?
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
I think my agency experience because I know, I've bought stock before as an art director. I've bought stock as a copywriter. I've even as a DP and an editor, I've bought stock.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps a little bit to, that I kind of know I know
you know what they want. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're guessing a little bit. I mean, obviously like topical things like sustainability and I'll probably go up this summer and shoot some wind farms in Indiana because there can't be too many of those.
No.
You
got to have wind farm shot.
But my whole thing was like, giving myself assignments, little assignments. Vimeo, with their weekend challenges, I thought they've always really, really encouraged these little weekend assignments, and I think it's great for like creative people that don't know really what to assign themselves to.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is. Can you go into that a little bit? Weekend challenge?
The weekend challenge? Yeah. Vimeo's been doing it for forever.
Yeah. And I know nothing about that.
Yeah, it's just kind of like and it's different every weekend. But I mean, it's these great little storytelling challenges that they'll, we've all heard about like the 48-hour film festival, things like that.
For sure.
So I would think of it that way. They just go, hey, just go out and shoot a cool story about this subject. They just give a subject, and they keep it pretty high level, so it's wide variety of interpretation, and
gotcha.
You get some some motion graphics people and some deep. So it's really
Do they
cool
eventually compile that all into a playlist?
Well, then they post
channel?
it, and they've always had staff picks, and so it's a really cool thing because when we eventually talk about comedy, I mean, it's like you're constantly auditioning, and you think you have a great idea, and you have no idea until you get it in front of an audience. Mm-hmm. So essentially, when you post stuff on Vimeo, if it ever becomes a staff pick, that means like they're like, that's pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. My wife hates my job because of that. She goes, I don't know how you do that. Constantly applying, auditioning, interviewing,
always pitching,
whatever you want to call it.
Always
you're constantly
always selling,
putting yourself out, getting denied, getting back up, or whatever.
But the more you do that, I mean, just inherently, you can't not get better.
Yeah.
Is that the same way in comedy? Let's hear how did you?
How does the parallels?
How did you get from film to stand up? Did you just one day you like, I'm gonna try this?
Yeah, it was like a bucket list thing that got has gotten a little out of hand at times. But I mean, I feel like
when did it start? First of all,
about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago was when I decided I've always been a huge comedy fan.
Okay.
But also so many of my creative friends and advertising, like music is always like everyone's in bands, and I always wanted to perform live. Like I loved that. And musically, like to me, my preference is one person, one guitar.
Yeah.
Like bands are fine and everything, but it's like that one person and that one guitar when they're really, really good, it's just so like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think it was a little bit of that, and then a little bit of, it's just something I really wanted to do. And so once I decided I wanted to try it, there's a comedy club, Go Bananas, up in Montgomery, Ohio, Cincinnati, and they had a writing session. So Wednesdays are Pro-Am night, and that's where you get a really nice mix of like everyone does 5 minutes, and you get some brand new people and you get some veterans, and they're working out new material. It's a great time. They have a creative writing session before, a comedy writing session before that, and everyone just gets around and says, "Hey, I've been working on this thing," and you get feedback. And I did that for about a month, and then the other comedians are like, "Have you actually gone up yet?" And I'm like, "Well, not yet." And you get this feeling like, all right, like we're only going to take you so seriously until like there's no shortcut.
You got to do it.
You have to just get up and do it. And I got up and did it, and it went. You bug all your coworkers to come out. And you just beg people to come out, and it went all right. And then I had the bug, and I just kept doing it. And I've tried to quit, and I can't quit. Like it's impossible.
Have you had any sets or moments that just really landed and you were like, "Oh my God, that was awesome"?
Yeah, I mean it happened. Like quite a bit. I mean, I've been lucky, and I think the agency experience. We're already good.
Yeah, we're all trying to outwit each other and one up each other.
Well, not only that though, but if you think about it, I mean, like we're great at presenting ideas. We're great storytellers. We're great at writing. We're great at keeping it simple. All of these same principles really apply in comedy. And so, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but like public speaking, that part of it never bothered me.
Yeah.
And that terrifies some people. Like I can't tell you how many people are like, I could never.
Yeah, I'm fine with public speaking.
See, the radio, this mic here is a great barrier. But as soon as you remove that and you put 100 people in front of me, I would. It
is weird. I mean, it takes a little. And the first couple, I would say the first couple times, my heart was just pounding out of my chest.
How many? Have you had any like major bombs?
So there's two different ways of doing. There are two different ways of comedy, or two different types of venues. There are open mics, true open mics, which are at bars, around.
You sign up on a list.
You sign up on a list and you just go up. The audience there is almost always
drunk.
Well, no, actually, no, it's worse. It's usually all comedians, other comedians.
Oh, wow.
A club atmosphere, the Funny Bones, the Go Bananas, those types of clubs, people have paid there to come, and it's a different environment. You get a lot of over 40s, you get a lot of, so it's a totally different.
A little more forgiving?
Way more forgiving, yeah. And especially for me, because I'll be 48 in June, so a lot of most of my materials is very self-deprecating. It's what a loser I am, and so it resonates. But I mean, it's like, but with younger comics at open mics, I feel like I'm a senior hanging out with freshmen. And it's just it's horrible.
There.
Oh yeah, I hate doing it, but it's important you do that because that's
You got to figure out what works.
Yeah, I want to earn their respect too. I mean, I really feel like that's part. I mean, it's a community. So whether it's music, filmmaking, comedy, these communities, and Cincinnati is one of those places where the communities are so small and so tight,
cliquey.
And it's not so much that they're cliquey; they're just small.
Yeah. Well, everybody in advertising, I know literally everyone in the advertising community.
You do.
And everyone knows everyone else. Like, it's all connected.
It's tiny. It's a tiny. So when you're coming up with content for your sets, can you compare it to potentially coming up with new sets for your stock footage? I mean, is it kind of a similar thought process where you're what works now? What can what's different kind of a thing? Yeah,
there's a method, the word web, where you start with a circle and you write a concept down. And so for me, like when I got, like the day I got laid off, I went home. Well, of course, I went home and got like on LinkedIn and did all that kind of stuff like immediately.
Got a box of wine.
Yeah, got a box of wine.
It was a box of wine.
But then I immediately started writing a joke about it because it's so fresh and it's like, this is it's personal. All my jokes, all my bits are personal stories, and you can't go wrong with that. And I feel like the audience really enjoys listening to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think because we all share the story. You know what I mean? There's bits and pieces in all of our stories that everyone agrees to and relates to. So, as a director, DP filmmaking, whenever you make a music video or a commercial or whatever, your POV is being shared by others who have had that similar experience. So it's just that it's a different thing to watch because it's your POV. Yeah. So I would assume as a comedian the same way, like you might talk about drinking or being laid off or going fishing, and a lot of people have shared those same experiences, but your story
the spin you put
is
on
funny and unique and it connects with theirs. And I think too the thing that I think comedy does when I've seen good comedy is it gives you permission to not be perfect.
Yeah.
Like it's a nice refreshing thing to be like, oh great, there's someone who gets me. Like I don't have to have it all together.
And you make a connection with the audience. That's why I keep going back to we're all, if you're creative, we're all performing artists, and you want to make that connection with the audience.
Yeah.
The most exhilarating thing about stand-up comedy is that the feedback is instantaneous.
No doubt. Yeah.
So the risk and the payoff are probably as extreme as you can possibly get.
For sure.
When it goes well, it's the most amazing thing ever, and when it goes bad, it's the worst thing ever. Yeah. Versus if you are a filmmaker or anything, an advertising, anything, you put it out there, and it's like you don't even you might hear back.
Well, if it's premiere night.
Anyway,
you get.
Speaking of which, did you get any live feedback when you premiered your films?
Absolutely.
A couple weeks ago?
Yeah, and that's a good parallel.
So were you sort of was it like, oh man, how's this gonna go?
And I would imagine it's the same thing as getting ready to step on stage in front of a bunch of people. I'm sitting there in the audience.
Yeah, your baby's on screen, and you're like, what are they gonna think?
Watching these two shorts, and I'm kind of rubbing my hands, holding my breath, for these moments that I know are coming up, and I'm like, all right, how are they going to react? How are they going to react? And all of a sudden, there's ooh, or oh my god, or and at the end, there's the applause, and you're like, oh, fuck,
which
we did it right,
which is a cool moment. We did, years back, always did the 5-day documentary challenge, and we were fortunate enough to be in the finals 2 or 3 years in Toronto, and to watch people watch your film live and react to it is the coolest feeling. So I can imagine it's a lot like
But
stand-up.
again, if it's bad, immediately.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a rare thing too, and you've seen this over the past 10 years in advertising. Whether it's print design, digital, anything. Everything just going to PDFs and just emailing it to the client, and you're robbing the people that created that work. I mean, how often do you get the clients in the room and preview a spot with them live, and you get to stand there and watch them?
Yeah.
How rarely?
It's here's a Vimeo link.
But I'm bringing it back because I love it, and it's time.
Yeah.
Or to tie it in with people that we have had on the show, it's check out this link on Whipster, give me your comments, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I want to see them. I want to see them cry. Because of something, some school bus video that I did. Yeah. Because you're just I put my heart and soul into that thing. Yeah. I'm not going to send you a Vimeo link,
Yeah. Right.
But
that's how the world. But that's how the world goes around.
And that's how it goes around. But
Interesting.
That's craziness, man. So how can people hear you? Do you have a comedy tape? How does this happen? How does this go down?
No, like I said, it's still a little bucket list thing out of control. But
you got a gig coming up?
I do. I go up a couple times a week, and it's still just fun for me. I mean, it's made me such a better writer and storyteller creatively, and I just, not that I have anything against online links and all that kind of stuff. But I'm loving just the purity of a live performance, and just getting up and doing it. And if you were there and you saw it, but I'm not real big into like websites and all that kind of stuff. So nice. not right now.
So, but maybe at some point your filmmaking love and your comedy could clash into like a YouTube channel.
It could possibly, and a lot of my, I'm really, really close with a lot of great comics in town now, and some of them have, we've been talking about maybe trying our own digital shorts and things like that. Yeah, they always have great ideas.
Yeah.
And
that's cool. Speaking of other comics, do you have any influences, favorite comedians that people would know to check out? Anybody that you kind of look up to that's out there right now? Some of the Saturday Night Live people, anything like that?
I'm a huge Louis C.K. fan.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, too, is it's kind of generational. You tend to, Brian Regan is another big fan of mine. Louis goes really off the reservation sometimes. I mean, as far as, and I love the idea of pushing it. When you're starting doing comedy, kind of the goal is to be TV clean, and you start working in 5-minute increments. And the reason it's a late night show set. Not that I'll ever frickin' get on the Tonight Show. But the thing is, like, when Jerry Seinfeld was on the Tonight Show for the first time, he did a 5-minute set. So they kind of train you and they mentor you to just get a solid 5 minutes, and then you work on to the next one. You keep working. Louis C.K. is one of my favorites. Brian Regan is squeaky clean, like you can take your kids to his show. And that really appeals to me, too, because it's so challenging. Like, can I do this without dropping the F-bomb? Can I do this without... And again, all of these things. And then I love Bill Burr because he just rants on stuff.
Amazing.
I love Joe Rogan. His podcast is one of my favorites. And so I think it's a little bit of everything. And it's funny you mentioned that, too, because last year I bought Judd Apatow's book, Sick in the Head. And that book was a collection of, like, as he was a young comedian, he was a comedian for a long time before he was a filmmaker. And now he's doing stand-up again for the first time in, like, 20 years. And it's a super compelling story. We all know him. He's a great film director. But he, as a young comedian, he interviewed, basically, essentially what we're doing right. He did podcasts on tape. He interviewed famous comedians. And then he just last year published all these interviews. I mean, we're talking like Mel Brooks and all these.
Finding out what makes them tick.
Gary Shandling. I mean, all these guys. And it was just, that was really, really inspirational to me. But what blew me away was that he's been a great filmmaker, great comedic filmmaker, and then he went back to stand-up, and his thing was, I really missed, there's nothing like that experience. There's nothing like getting up.
Instantaneous feedback.
It's just super. I'm glad you mentioned that, too, because that is so relevant, to what we do.
I've got a confession.
What's that?
I actually have a stand-up set written.
Shut up.
It's I don't know if I can find it. It's out there. I had a friend, this is years and years ago, who kind of got into stand-up, and I was like, this sounds kind of fun. Like, maybe I'd go to an open mic night, and I developed like a whole point of view, and it's somewhere out there. I just never did it.
You never performed it?
I never did it.
Wow.
You have to do it.
I never did it.
I would not recommend doing it right now, but you should put it in front of an audience. There's
I mean, I never did it. Partly I didn't know how. Like, I didn't know like where to go. I didn't know I didn't know the way. It was Sam Webb, who we've done some work with.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he's a hilarious guy.
He's great.
He's a great comedian. He's been doing stand-up.
But anyway,
you should do it, man. You should make that a personal challenge.
And I'm okay with like being made fun. I mean, not person. I don't really care. It's just some of those things that I never did. It was funny when learning about your story, and I was like, I actually have like a stand-up set somewhere on Google Docs somewhere.
You should do it, right? You should do it.
Totally, and it's all based. It's all based on my dad because he's crazy. You know, like I love him, but he's like super narcissistic. Like, he claims that he's never farted in his life. He's never passed gas in his life ever.
Bull.
Like, he's got some amazing things about him that are just awesome.
Carpenter, right?
Yeah.
He's a woodworking magician.
Yeah, he's Jesus who's never farted.
See right there.
There's some stuff out there.
There's something there. You should do it, man.
It's so funny. Like
who knows? I might resurrect it once, and maybe I can get Michael.
Speaking of Jesus, yeah.
Get Michael to set me up.
There.
Yeah.
Set me up, and maybe I'll test it on you and see if it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
Dude, private, off air here. Yeah.
That day, it was so funny. That day I got laid off. I went home. I started this word web, and I drew a circle, and it was like, got laid off. And then the things that started spinning off of that were like how getting laid off versus getting fired are two totally different types of breakups.
Yeah.
And then that spun off into a whole bunch of other things.
Well, I got to hear that. What's the
I want to see the weird web.
Yeah.
Now I'm intrigued.
Really. So the whole when you get fired, you have a pretty good idea why, right?
Yeah.
When you get laid off, it's just more like we're just not that into you anymore, right? It's the horrible. And then I started thinking about like I had never been fired before, but there were a whole lot of reasons I should have been fired. Like there were so many reasons. I had so many stories of why I should have been fired.
Yeah.
Like we had a room. It was a room for working moms where they could go breast pump in private.
Ugh.
And it's not whatever. So I like to go, but I always like to go by and jiggle the door handle a little bit when it was closed, like just to keep them on their toes a little bit. You can't
immediately cover up inside.
Yeah,
you're just imagining.
Adam is in the control booth, just losing. He's just so cracking up in there.
Yeah, it's funny. It's not appropriate for a workplace, but it's funny.
Yeah,
and like in a yeah,
it's just for you. Just
it was just for me. Like no, you have to leave. It was so funny as I was writing all the reasons I should have been fired. I kind of came back around. I was like, maybe I got fired. Like they didn't actually use the words laid off. They're just like, this is your last day.
Yeah. So, it's the breast pump thing. Yeah. So we've got you on camera jiggling the door to the breast pump room.
Oh, this is great.
But I used to test out material all the time on my coworkers and out loud, and it was just, you can't.
My daughter tried one on me. This is the dumbest thing, but I laughed so hard. She tried this. She said, "What do you call a fish without an eye?"
What?
I thought it was awesome.
It works better after 2 glasses of bourbon.
It's amazing. And she landed it so well and had this straight face, and it landed, and I just cracked up laughing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
The worst part of getting laid off though is packing up your stuff.
Oh my gosh.
In a cardboard box because they give you the box, right?
Really?
And then
I always thought that was just like a TV thing.
No, they supply the box and then they stand there and watch you. Like honestly, like they're worried you're gonna freak out and trash the place or something.
Gosh.
But they just stand there and watch you. And I opened up my desk drawer and I had 4 boxes of granola bars, 2 sweatshirts, and a Nerf blaster gun. Like, it was like the most embarrassing zombie apocalypse survival kit ever.
That's amazing.
Like it would have been so much better if they just threw it all on the front lawn. It's like, seriously, if they threw it all on the front lawn, I would have walked by and be like, that's not mine.
Yeah.
But they stood there and watched me put it in a box and then escorted me out.
Oh, that's horrible. And then they take the box back after you put it in your car.
Humiliating.
Hey, he is always welcome on this show.
Amazing. Yeah, this should be a regular.
I'm so happy right now.
Occurring regular.
Man, so I love this.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far we can go with this. But
this is great.
Okay.
This, right?
Let's bring it back to a through line here. What's the future look like? You're in the freelance realm now. You're working on the stand-up comedy. What kind of goals, aspirations, dreams? What do you see coming up?
Well, the most exciting part right now is that like I am going back full time here in the next month or two with an agency downtown Cincinnati. I've been doing freelance with, and the irony is that so like 18 years ago when I first came to Cincinnati, I was in Dayton, Ohio. When I first came to Cincinnati, I worked right here in this building where we're recording,
nice.
and that creative director that I worked for he owns another agency downtown here, and we hadn't talked in like 10 years. And that morning after I got laid off, I emailed him, and like 100 other people. But I emailed him, and he was like, "Where are you right now?" I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little bummed out, but I just got laid off. And he was like, no, like, where are you?
Physically.
Right? Where are you? He's like, can you come down in an hour? So
wow.
Yeah, and I live about 20 minutes north of here. So I raced down here, and we had a good meeting, and it's exciting right now because I'm getting to write again commercially, not just
nice.
Comedically.
Yeah.
And one of the first freelance jobs he gave me was to do some real quick food recipe videos for one of their brands, and I did them on my kitchen table. And it's funny. I did 2 cameras, and I was making the food, and it's a little tricky, yeah. But it was fun though. It was a lot of fun, and they were a big hit with the clients. So I think we're going to be doing a lot more of those.
Cool.
They have they do a lot of food stuff, almost all food. So they have a huge kitchen. They have all kinds of cool stuff going on.
That's awesome.
So I got that coming up, and then
I'm interested to know, do you have any material, or do you see yourself starting to tell these jokes around the film industry? Something like that. So I was filming in my kitchen. It seems like there's some stories there. Is that something that might emerge?
Definitely. I mean, I would say I have. I think the whole bit about getting laid off has a lot of. I talk about that word web that I started. There's so many little spinoffs there. So I definitely, typically in a comedy club, I wouldn't guess that there's a lot of people that have worked in an ad agency. So you want to try to stay kind of universally relevant. But for sure, there's all kinds of things that really.
That's fun.
That's great.
I think the world needs more filmmaking comedy.
It needs more comedy in general. That's the stuff I'm always
totally
posting on my Facebook.
So here's a couple things we talk about on the show, and we love asking these questions because it introduces us to new things. And what are you watching right now? What are you into? What kind of shows, movies? What are some things the listeners might want to check out?
This is the embarrassing part about my answer, is that as a filmmaker, I mean, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I mean, I don't watch a whole lot of big movies. Like Deadpool, loved it. But there's a comedic thing there that just resonated with me. I recently, this is funny you mentioned that, I recently bought like this whole collection of Spielberg movies, and I went back and watched. I hadn't seen Jaws in a long time. I hadn't seen Close Encounters in a long time, or E.T. Raiders was always I was a big fan of that, but Close Encounters of the Third Time, like I'm kind of hooked on that right now.
It's awesome.
And so many people have not seen that movie.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so old, and I went back and watched it. I'm like, oh my god, like just some of the stuff just blows me away.
Yeah.
And but I still love documentaries. I mean, I go back. I probably watch Press Pause Play. At least once or twice a month. That was a documentary that came out like 5-10 years ago, and just amazing documentary. So I watch a lot of that stuff, and then I get lost on YouTube. It's so this all right. So I'm glad you asked this. I'm a huge history buff. Are we okay time wise?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Dude. Yeah. There's no time limit, man.
No time
this
limit.
is all about
no rules.
It's all about
no
us.
rules.
It's all about talking.
So there's a YouTube channel, Tanks with GoPros.
Tanks with GoPros.
Tanks with GoPros. This is so messed up. But
is this like a Russian thing? Or
no, it's a Syrian thing. This is,
wow.
This is weird. So the Syrian so I'm a huge history buff, and so YouTube. When you spend a lot of time on YouTube, it keeps track of all that.
Oh yeah, it recommends things. It recommends
things, and it just keeps getting weirder. And then the more time you watch that stuff, the weirder it gets. So it's like Tanks. Actually, I think the YouTube channel is actually Tanks in Space, which is even more messed. It's a real YouTube channel. But so the Syrian army puts GoPros on their tanks and films the tank battles in Damascus, and
real battles,
real tank battles. Yeah, they're
not
GoPros
drills or anything.
No, real tank battles. GoPros mounted on tanks. And YouTube recommended it to me, and then I started watching them. It was fast. It was like a real live video game.
Wow!
And then it started me thinking. I'm like, whose idea was that? Like, did that come down from like the top brass, or was there like one Syrian army soldier on a tank that was like really into extreme sports, and he's like, you know what else we could do with this?
We could put these on tanks.
Yeah, and like, where do they buy it? Like, I guess there's no Best Buys in Syria. I don't think. Like, do they just?
They got
order
Amazon, man.
I think
They
B&H
just buy 'em-
ships
they just
over
buy
there.
'em?
Yeah, B&H or Amazon.
How would you like that corporate account?
Oh
Like,
my God.
like every Q1 celebration, there's like, dude, like Brandon's killing it again.
Oh my God.
And then and so I got off on this whole this does not do well live because like people they don't get where you're going with it. But I'm just like, so now like when they line up the gun to shoot, is there like a guy in the back going, no, wait.
It needs to be on the left third.
He's
Like,
framing it up.
You need to frame up the shot. You're
Well,
not,
we're going to be cropping to
you
2,
can
3,
be-
5
yeah, but
later.
you can
So
you can be in the tank with the GoPro app and really
you could
you
on your
change
phone.
your frame rates.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I really want to get this.
Hold
one
on.
out.
We
know,
got to
they're
wait
like-
to get the Phantom up in
wanna-
the air before we.
and I was like, did they ever like forget the password? You know, the YouTube password. It's like, no, it's Assad number 4, like EVR, like,
with a capital
dude,
A.
How could you forget?
Oh my God.
That's horrible. But anyway, it's just like stuff like
All
that
right,
happens.
cool.
Oh,
What
I feel
about
bad laughing
what about
about
work?
that.
Anything you can talk about that's cool that's popping up? I mean, you mentioned the thing about shooting food. Anything else you're doing, stock footage or work wise?
Yeah, stock.
Yeah, getting back to stock. The weather's getting nicer, so hopefully get out of my house and shoot some stuff. It's again, it's really. But I think the most challenging thing for shooting stock is I want to shoot people on camera. Let's clarify.
Getting away from the
that was
tanks.
that was a weird segue.
On camera.
Yeah.
Film
But
people.
finding talent to put on stock, I feel like is so hard.
Because if you dip into model mayhem world, watch out.
Oof.
Yeah,
Watch out.
and I just feel, I've always felt, I don't know, you're asking these people to sign a release knowing that you're going to sell the footage that you shoot of them forever, and I don't have the money to pay models right now.
Yeah.
So, but so I mean,
Models do a lot of things worse than that for nothing.
yeah. So I was talked to a couple talent agencies, maybe looking at some portfolio trade agreements, stuff like that. So I'm trying to get but again, it's waiting for the weather to clear up a little bit. It's around here, it's nuts.
Well,
it's hard to predict.
One of the other things, I mean, we're super excited about NAB, gear,
That's gonna be a
opportunities,
fun one.
people. Anything you're excited about? Anything that we need to know about that you've discovered, or any cool things?
No, I'm pretty good right now as far as technology. I mean, I'm with you that. I mean, you can do it with your phone. You can do it with so many.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there are times. The one thing about the phone cameras are that I love super shallow depth of field. I love that macro stuff.
Yeah.
But then for some reason, if I want to shoot like a plate of food from the top straight down, and it's just going on social. Mm-hmm. Use my phone.
Yeah,
like somehow it just comes out
all in focus.
Like I can't even
sharp. It's
I can't. It's like I can't even do that with my
Yeah.
And I still have a DSLR, and I still shoot. I still shoot stills, but you just have to pick your. You have to pick your battles as far as like technology.
Bringing it back to the tanks. I like
picking
that.
battles.
Battles.
Yeah,
No
great.
more of us. No.
Man,
That's awesome,
that's
man.
Cool. There's a lot of fun
This
stuff.
has been
coming up.
fun, man.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you were able to. I emailed you like last night, didn't I? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing at 4:00? Can you make it to the show?
Yeah.
And you were like, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Podcasts are fun, and this is such a great. When you have multiple, like Bill Burr has a great podcast, but he does it like alone in his hotel room. And I think the one thing is you need multiple voices. And I love you guys. Like, I love the round table. I love because you can't.
And you add alcohol and it lubricates the situation.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
It just makes everything better.
Well, you know what's really cool about this episode.
Number 40.
It's number 40.
This is number 40.
Yeah, this
40.
is like monumental.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You're a part of the 40-40
Like
club,
I think
man.
maybe 50 will be a little better, but this is pretty cool.
This
This
is good
pretty
enough.
cool. Yeah.
We can thank Elijah Craig.
That's
for,
right. Elijah
there you
Craig.
go.
There's no way
40
that's a
years.
real. Is that a real
yeah,
person?
man. Sure it is.
Elijah Craig.
Yeah, he's like a historic guy.
Yeah,
That's
you
like
he
Jay-
fought the
that's
war.
Like speaking of Oregon Trail.
That's like
he
Jay-
fought the war.
That's like
Yeah.
Jay Peterman. There's no. That's not.
fought the
cannot
war, man.
possibly.
Well, I'll tell you what, you are always welcome to be on this show anytime, man. We love you. You got a great point of view. You're a comrade in the filmmaking world. You're cracking us up, man. So keep doing the comedy thing.
Is there
That's great.
You mentioned Vimeo. Do you have a Vimeo channel that people can go check out?
Yeah. Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram?
Where socially?
It seems like you would kill on Twitter with one-liners.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really weird that social is a good place to try stuff out because you're putting out in front of an audience. Like I said, you know how that's going to go. But at the same time, I think a lot of sometimes you just want to keep it to yourself and get up. I'm like that. I'm a really private person to begin with, and I just like to get up on stage and do it and not put it out there. But I mean, you're a huge Twitter.
Yeah,
but
I'm on Twitter.
Everyone's got different tastes and everything, but I have a Vimeo channel. I don't even know what it is.
Some string of numbers.
This is like some crazy like.
You can Vimeo.com/147.
Well, and everything. Yeah, and like almost all the videos are private because they're the client works. So it's just. But
do you have a time or a set or when do you go to Go Bananas or Funny Bone?
This what I would say. If you're local, I would. Go Bananas every Wednesday at 8:00 is the Pro-Am show. And
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
8:00. Yeah, that's not an early morning show. But they, I perform there maybe once a month. I go every Wednesday. I love to go and just see other comics, and it's so much fun to see other. Yeah,
because you kind of don't know what you're going to get, and you get surprised.
You don't know what you're going to get. Yeah, and there's some of them are
cool.
But I love the process. I love the whole writing process, and even my good friends who are established comedians in Cincinnati, I love to see them try new stuff, and then even see them like tweak it over the next couple months until it just gets in that.
It sounds to me like there's also maybe a short documentary about amateur comedians and their journey.
Yeah, there could be.
I mean,
it's a really. I
like this.
This is a super passionate. Genre. So.
The one last thing I'm going to throw out, and I don't know if you've heard it, is the Jamie Foxx episode of Tim Ferriss.
Yeah,
we listened to this on the road. I feel like you would love it.
Yeah,
have you heard
Tim
it?
Ferriss.
Yeah, okay, so the Tim Ferriss Show, it's a podcast. You can find it on iTunes Podcasts.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a Jamie Foxx episode where he talks about coming up as a stand-up comedian,
awesome.
Tweaking his set through different. So he'll go to the black community and do the white jokes, and go to the white community and do the black jokes.
Oh, that whole part.
Find the crossover.
And he talks about his grandma. Like, it's great.
You'd love that. Yeah, I would check that out.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, again, thanks for coming, man. You're welcome anytime. This has been an awesome show. You can always find us at fdbpodcast.com, at FDB Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you liked anything you heard today with Michael, you're interested in getting connected with him, working with him, doing something with him, you can always feel free to reach out to us on the show.
You know
where to find us. We'll connect the dots. That's what we do here. We connect the dots.
We just connect people. That's what we do.
Man, feels good.
Make connections.
Cheers, guys.
This has been like a really cool mix of like comedians and cars drinking coffee.
Exactly.
And like drunk history. I just mashed
it all comes together.
It happens.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you next week.
And cheers.
This podcast was recorded live at Sound Images Studio. Find out more at soundimages.com.